You're 7 years old and your dad doesn't live here anymore. You're 10 and shuttling between two houses, two bedrooms, two different lives. You're 14 and you've learned to read the room before speaking because you never know which parent is having a bad day about the other one. Nobody prepared you for this. And now you're an adult and you're realizing that divorce didn't just change your living situation. It changed how your brain works. If your parents are split when you were young, this is for you, because what I'm about to explain might finally make sense of why you are the way you are. Psychologists have a term for what happens to kids when their family structure breaks apart during crucial developmental years. It's called disrupted attachment, and it doesn't just go away when you turn 18. Here's what most people don't understand. Divorce isn't a single event. It's a psychological rewiring that happens over years. And if you were a kid when it happened, your brain was still forming its understanding of relationships, stability, and trust. Dr. Judith Wallerstein spent 25 years tracking children of divorce and found something that'll probably hit home. Most of these kids don't process the divorce while it's happening. They process it years later when they're trying to build their own relationships and suddenly realize they have no template for what a functional partnership looks like. Think about what that means. Your parents' relationship was your first model for love, commitment, conflict resolution. And if that model broke, what did you learn? You learned that people leave. You learned that love has conditions. You learned that home isn't permanent. And your nervous system absorbed all of that before you even had words for it. If you learned early that people leave, hit subscribe. You're not alone in this. And here is the part that messes people up. You probably became really good at reading emotional cues. You had to. When your family was fracturing, you learned to monitor everyone's mood, anticipate conflict, manage other people's feelings before they exploded. Psychologists call this emotional hypervigilance. Your brain got trained to constantly scan for signs that something's wrong, that someone's upset, that the ground is about to shift again. And that doesn't just turn off because you're an adult now. Let's talk about what this actually does to you long term. Because the research here is clearer than most people realize. A study in the Journal of Marriage and Family found that adult children of divorce report a significantly higher anxiety in their own relationships, not because they're broken, but because their developmental blueprint for relationships included an ending. They watched commitment fail, and now they're trying to build something stable with a foundation that never felt solid. You learned that conflict means catastrophe, because in your house, conflict didn't lead to resolution, it led to divorce. So now even normal disagreements feel dangerous. Your nervous system treats every argument like the beginning of the end. And here's what nobody talks about. You probably struggle with commitment, but not in the way people think. It's not that you don't want it, it's that you don't trust it. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop, because that's what love taught you. It ends. Psychologists call this anxious attachment. You want closeness, but closeness feels terrifying because it means there's something to lose. So you end up pulling people close and then pushing them away before they can leave first. If you've ever sabotaged a good relationship because you were waiting for it to fail anyway, drop a comment. That's a trauma response, not a personality flaw. But wait, because there's another version of this. Some kids of divorce become what researchers call avoidantly attached. They learned that depending on people is dangerous. So they built walls. They became self-sufficient to the point of isolation. You don't ask for help. You don't let people in. And it feels like strength, but it's actually protection. Your brain decided that if you never need anyone, you can never be abandoned. Both of these responses, anxious and avoidant, they're not flaws, they're adaptations. Your brain was trying to keep you safe. The problem is, those adaptations don't serve you anymore. They just make relationships feel impossible. Now, here's what makes this particularly complicated. A lot of kids of divorce don't blame their parents. The divorce might have been necessary. Sometimes it was just two people who couldn't make it work. And that makes it harder. If there's no villain, where does the pain go? You're carrying the weight of what that decision cost you. Research shows acknowledging the impact matters. Kids whose feelings were validated adapted better than kids who were told everything's fine when it clearly wasn't. What's been hardest for you? Not being able to talk about it? Or feeling like you should be over it by now? Let me know. So what does healing look like? You can't rewrite your childhood, but you can recognize how it shaped you. First, name the pattern. Your relationship anxiety, your fear of commitment. These came from watching your family break apart. Second, your worth isn't tied to being low maintenance. You became the easy kid, but you're allowed to need things. Third, learn that conflict doesn't mean catastrophe. Healthy relationships have disagreements. They just don't end every time. Your nervous system will scream that this is the beginning of the end. It's not. And here's what nobody tells you. Healing means disappointing the voice that says, you have to be perfect to be loved. That voice is wrong. If you're learning you don't have to be perfect to be loved, leave a comment. That's the hardest lesson. So if your parents divorced when you were young, if relationships feel harder for you, you're not broken. Your brain adapted to survive something hard. Your past shaped you, but it doesn't have to define every relationship moving forward. If this resonated, hit subscribe. And if you've experienced this, drop a comment below.